He was phenomenal in the playoffs. He was
borderline
game one. No. He was
phenomenal in game one.
Stop. No. I'm not going to listen to this. I'm not going to listen to the slander here.
You're not
he was
even
borderline a top 5 player in the NBA in the playoffs this year.
They're going to melt down because the Philly press is not something that LeBron's ever had to deal with at the local level. It's going to be a bloodbath when they don't live up to early expectations.
Hey, yo, what up, everybody? Welcome back to the Generational Beef Podcast. I'm your host, Tristan Terrell, as well as my dad,
Noel Terrell, Generational Beef.
The beef. All right, we'll hop right into it. We got a little bit of a fun episode for you today. We're going to get back into our NFL divisions talk, but before that, the elephant in the room. The most obvious thing that could ever need to be talked about. LeBron James switching teams. 2-year, $8 million contract, second year being a player option, to go to the Philadelphia 76ers.
Look, going to the East is his best chance to get to the finals. But there isn't an Eastern Conference team that has a chance in that finals. The other thing is, I don't get it.
Hold on. What are you saying? You said that there's not an Eastern. Oh, I got you. Against the Western Conference team.
Yeah. I think the Thunder are going to get better.
Like the Knicks had no chance this year.
If there is a team, it's the Knicks, and obviously I give them a chance, but I'm excluding them from this conversation because they're clearly the 1 seed right now until someone proves different.
Yeah, I disagree. I think that if you ask me, they're probably like they're probably the third or fourth best team in the Eastern Conference, if you ask me.
You could say that, but you would have said that last year or lower, and they won it. So the point is, until proven differently at this point, they are the 1 seed. Might they not be? Maybe. Okay.
That doesn't mean that I give them a higher % chance than other teams to beat a team in the finals.
But here's the problem with signing with any of the teams that were kind of in play for him, right? Let's start with the Heat and Philly, which is where he ended up, right? If healthy, their starting fives, if you add him, are really good, but they got nothing else. And you're not going to compete.
In Miami, absolutely. In Philly, that's not true.
But it's not great. It's not
that's
the
not
Thunder.
True. No. Philly's depth is actually really good.
Anyway, here's the other point.
The Suns.
I think I meant as far as, you know what I meant.
Okay. I really didn't. That's why I asked.
Anyway,
it wasn't like
my point here is you're going to be lucky to get 40 games out of Embiid. You're going to be lucky if he's there for the playoffs. You're going to be lucky if you get 60 games out of LeBron at this point.
Well, that's not true.
That's what he played last year. Like
I know.
He's not going to play more than he did last year.
I disagree.
Right? In reality, look, it's not a bad signing if you're Philly because it's $8 million over 2 years. I'm not suggesting for Philly it's a bad signing, but if he's going there because he thinks he's going to compete for a title, it's ridiculous. If Embiid's if Embiid's healthy, you're the 4th best player on the roster. If Embiid's not healthy, you're the 3rd best team on the roster or person on the roster. Like I just don't, because no one's going to say if he goes there and wins it that it was him. It'll be Maxey. It'll be Brown. It's just he's the 3rd best player or 4th best player on the roster, depending on who's healthy.
In Joel Embiid's entire career, they've never made it past the 2nd round, and you're going to say all of a sudden that if it happens, it's not LeBron. Like that's
doesn't
not gonna
Brown
be true.
have a ring?
He does, but not with the Sixers, and
obviously not. But it's not like there aren't other people with playoff success on this roster at this point.
Basically, literally nobody else, other than him and LeBron.
Okay, well,
but
there was only one on the Thunder team too, and we made it. So I just my point being is when you're the 3rd or 4th best player on the roster,
I fundamentally disagree with that.
Look, here I'm just going to go on the record because this is how the season's going to go, right? This season is going to be a nightmare for Philadelphia because they are putting a lot of hype into this. They are going to be maybe a 5 or 6 seed and a 1 first round exit. That's just the fact. And here's why. LeBron's another year older. We saw how much gas he had left in the tank when it got to the playoffs, and it wasn't much.
He was phenomenal in the playoffs. He was
borderline
in game one. No. He was
phenomenal in game one.
Stop. No. I'm not going to listen to this. I'm not going to listen to the slander here.
You're not
he was
even
borderline a top 5 player in the NBA in the playoffs this year.
That is the most ridiculous thing I've heard.
It's not. It's just not.
Can I speak?
He was insanely good.
In game 1 and game 2 against us, he brought it all back. And he was terrible in game 3 and game 4 because he had nothing left.
Was not. No, he was
Go
not.
Look at the numbers.
Well, first of all, it's not just the numbers. I watched the games
too.
But also the numbers aren't bad. Like, here's the thing.
Okay, let me ask you this. Am I wrong in saying if Embiid is healthy, he's the 4th best player on that roster?
Yes.
How? Who are you putting above him? Or who are you taking below him?
Maxey for sure, depending on the day, maybe Jaylen Brown.
41-year-old LeBron. I'm not saying prime LeBron. I would agree with you. 41 to going on 42-year-old LeBron.
Yes.
Is better than Maxey.
Absolutely.
I don't even understand that logic. Who would you rather have right now on your roster?
No, stop. That's not a fair question because one of them is like 23, right? That's not a fair question. But which one is actively the better player is LeBron.
I don't even understand that logic.
For the majority of the regular season, because he didn't look like normal LeBron, although he was still an all-star level player, we were probably sitting here thinking he was about the 30th best player in the league. And then in the playoffs, he looked like he was top 5 to 7 or 8. And so I think where does that actually put him? Probably about 15 to 18. And I think that that's slightly above where Tyrese Maxey is in my mind. It's close, right? And I think that Jaylen Brown is above that, probably, but he's kind of in a similar realm. And then I would say that Joel Embiid, when healthy, is probably like the 6th or 7th best player in the world, but that's when healthy, right? So I think
you're saying he's 3rd instead of 4th, which is what I'm saying.
I would say fully healthy, that is where I would place him. Yes, but I would say when you look at the entire totality body of work of the season, but at the end of it, he probably will end up having been the Sixers' 2nd best player. And depending on how it goes, there's a borderline conversation that he could end up at 1, like legitimately.
That's ridiculous statement.
It's not ridiculous. I just think that here's the deal. First of all, I agree with you. Most likely, this season is going to result in them being about a 4 seed and then losing in probably the 2nd round. But that's because of health and because of all the other things. And chemistry doesn't typically click that quickly.
Yeah, that's the other concern I have. Brown wanted to go to a place where he was the guy, and now
okay, hold on.
The guy.
Hold on. I'll get to that in a second. I agree with you. I want to get there also. But what I want to say, if the Sixers are able to click and are able to be fully healthy and do what they want to do in the playoffs, if we can get to that point, they have as good a chance as any team in the East to win it. I mean, I believe that.
But here's the thing. They're going to go on a 4 or 5 game losing streak at some point early in this season because their chemistry is not there, assuming everyone's even healthy, right? Which is a big assumption. And they're going to melt down because the Philly press is not something that LeBron's ever had to deal with at the local level. It's going to be a bloodbath. When they don't live up to early expectations. LA is not Philly when it comes to sports. Come on. You know that.
No, but in terms of
hold on,
but in terms of expectations of being a Laker, it's borderline worse. I mean, like, but
the press wasn't tough on him.
When you're being a when you are a Laker, there is expectations that come with that versus
I know,
any
but
other
people are
team
talking about he should have a statue for 1 trophy in LA. No, I agree with that, but the press wasn't hard on him. If he's not good,
no, the press is always hard on him for what it's worth.
Some parts of the press are, some parts love him, and there's no way around it. But I'm talking the local press will eat him alive. You're going to have internal turmoil on that roster because of the Brown dynamic. And this, I'm not even blaming Brown necessarily. It's not a bad signing for Philly because it doesn't matter. The money doesn't matter. It's so low. It doesn't matter, right? So I don't blame Philly for trying it, but the expectations that the fan base and LeBron fans have right now is just absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, I just fundamentally disagree. Again, I don't expect it to get to the level of working that way necessarily because of all the factors. But
I'm here for the meltdown.
I don't think that it's bad. And for what it's worth, I think while they are healthy, it will be very entertaining to watch. I think they're going to be a good competitive team that are going to play a fun brand of basketball, and I think it'll be entertaining. Shams came out today and said that the expectation, at least initially, is that they'll probably have LeBron run point guard, which he can do very well. We've seen. I mean, the last time he did it, he led the league in assists at the age of like 36 years old and won a title. So, and again, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen this year, but I think that works out really well, especially because then stepping into the 4 spot, you probably have like Dean Wade come in to shoot and then push VJ Edgecombe to the bench, which in terms of his overall development probably isn't great, but in terms of you as a team, that's really good. Whenever off the bench, you've got depth of VJ Edgecombe and Anthony Simons. You've also got KCP on the bench as a shooter. Like, this team has pieces. They're going to be good while they're healthy. And even if not fully healthy, if Embiid's that only missing piece, it can still look pretty good, especially in the Eastern Conference. You've got a lot of firepower. Again, I don't expect it to be great. I expect them to be good. I don't expect it to be great. I don't expect them to win a title. But getting to the Jaylen Brown piece, I think that is a very interesting dynamic. And obviously, everybody's discussing it right now. But it's like he wanted out of Boston, and Boston also kind of like severed ties with him. It was kind of two ways, right? JB said he was okay to come back. It was pretty two ways. I think both of them wanted out. And initially, even with the trade, it's like, okay, well, this team could be good, but if Embiid's healthy, he's definitely the best player on the team. And Maxey is their homegrown young star. So even if he's not a better player than Jaylen Brown, they're going to prioritize him, right? And then now you add LeBron to that, and it's like, is Jaylen Brown, at least perception-wise, not the 4th best player, but the 4th most important player on this roster? And kind of like you said, that dynamic is going to be interesting. Jaylen Brown has always been a guy to kind of make comments at certain points, but he's never been a guy to like really rustle the chemistry feathers.
This is not me saying something.
I don't think it's going to like
Brown. I don't
ruin their season, but it's an interesting narrative to talk about and it will obviously be very interesting to monitor as the season goes.
I kind of disagree in the sense that I think Jaylen Brown is the engine that's going to drive this team this season. I think
that's possible, but is that going to be the way that it is designed?
And I agree with you. When Embiid is healthy, he's won, but he's not going to be. So,
but for the games that he is, for those 40 games, he will be. And
availability means a lot.
No, I know. But what I'm telling you is, anytime he steps on the court, he has priority over everybody else on this roster. So if you're right, he might play 40 games, but for those 40 games, he is the guy.
So here's what I would say, right? I look at this, and again, I don't have a problem with Philly doing it. That contract is elite.
Well, right? Yeah, and obviously you can't.
So to be clear,
even if we don't trust their actual ability to meet expectations this year, you can't sit here and look and say this roster was better 3 days ago than it is now, right? Like, obviously that's not true.
Here's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is, and again, it doesn't matter because of the cost of LeBron here. It's nothing, right? So what I'm about to say doesn't matter because the cost is irrelevant, right? It's a short-term deal, and it's not any money compared to what he's ever made before, right?
It's not any money compared to anything. It's the veteran minimum. So
no, I know. My point being is, I don't have a problem with it, and I don't care. What I'm about to say doesn't necessarily matter because of the money, right? What I would argue is this team with Jaylen Brown, Maxey, and Embiid, when healthy, let's say it's 40 games, I don't know how many more wins LeBron gets you. This is already at 55 to 60 win team potentially.
Well, okay, whoa. You just said that they're going to be the 5 or 6 seed in the Eastern Conference.
50 wins, right?
Okay.
What's he going to get you? 5 more? Like it's not,
okay. First of all,
I don't know what I'm trying to say is I don't know that he makes any impact overall on this roster.
So hold on,
because
pause.
I don't think it's going to result in
Hold
wins.
on.
It doesn't matter because of the cost.
Okay, so for what it's worth, to some level, I understand what you're saying and almost kind of agree with you. How much does it raise you? I don't know by a ton in terms of regular season win total. However, first of all, again, are you, even if the wins adds 2 or 3, right? Are you a better team now than you were before he was on the roster? Yes. Second of all, like you said, win healthy, right? The second that Embiid goes down, obviously LeBron's most likely not playing center, although he probably could. He's not playing center. But having the extra body, the extra all-star caliber player, obviously helps whenever you start having injuries. More depth, right? Duh. Third of all, most importantly, healthy or not, he raises your ceiling potential come playoff time. And that's it. Again, not to say that they're going to go on some crazy run and they're going to go win a title or even make the finals or whatever, right? But if LeBron's not on this roster, the second round is your cap, right? We've seen that time and time again, no matter what iteration they put around him, whether it's an all-NBA player in Ben Simmons before he fell off the face of the earth, whether it's an all-NBA player in James Harden, whether it's literally anybody, right? We've seen it time and time again. Joel Embiid led rosters cap at the second round. You put LeBron on that roster, that cap is raised. It may not happen.
I'm not arguing
it's probably not going to be realized.
I just don't expect him to be available anyway, meaning Embiid, and that's a big hole on this roster.
Yes, I do agree with that, but I do think, especially dependent on matchup, I think they could make it out of the second round without Joel Embiid. I don't think they could win a title without Joel Embiid, right? I don't think they could win the East without Joel Embiid.
Cat in the Knicks without a big man.
I mean, maybe
I just saw it.
So, okay, but here's the other thing too. That we have to temper expectations a little bit. I love Karl Anthony Towns. He had a phenomenal playoff run. He proved everybody wrong. Everybody. But there's a reason.
In the last 2 games of the finals, but overall, yes.
But there's a reason that he had to prove them wrong. It's because he has a lot more time of proving what they said versus what he did last year. I'm not
understood,
but it means a lot as we talk about all the time. Progression and regression are not linear, exactly. So
correct.
He could come out next year in the playoffs.
Sometimes getting over the hump is big.
Agreed, but I do agree with that statement, especially mentally, right? Mm-hmm. But he could come back next year, and all the things the haters were saying in the playoffs this year, why the Knicks can't get it done, partially because of Karl Anthony Towns, could come true next year in the playoffs. And again, as we talk about all the time, not just repeating, but just in general, on an island, only one team can win every year. So the odds of it happening are unlikely, independent on whether or not they won it last year. Odds are at some point in the playoffs next year that will happen because odds are they're not going to win it next year. Right.
Here's the other thing.
I guess my point being is that I agree with what you're saying in theory that on paper you would need Embiid to match up with the Knicks because Cat, but maybe not. They also lost Mitchell Robinson, which obviously you're a big fan of.
I think that depth is important for sure. I don't know as it's important in the East as it is when you get to the finals, but it's important. Sure. But here's the other thing that I think is weird this season, specifically in the East. The East is full of unknowns right now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everybody's an unknown.
Right. So, but to a certain extent.
I mean, the least unknown right now, to your point, is the Knicks. But every other team
that's not an unknown. But yeah.
No, I know. That's why I said the least. Right. But every other team possibly in contention, it is. I mean, the Celtics lost JB.
But what I'm saying,
the Raptors are adding Kawhi, question mark.
But hold on.
The Heat with Giannis, the Sixers, entire roster.
Let me know when you're done.
Yeah, the Pacers coming back from injury.
What I'm saying is this. You've got the Knicks. There's no question marks around the Knicks. Whether they'll perform at the same level next year, that's really the only one.
And that's the only big question. It's just consistency.
So, but here's the weird part about the East right now. Yes, the Celtics have holes, but they still have Tatum and they're very well coached.
Oh no, trust me, I'm buying as much Celtics stock as possible. I don't think they're going to be any worse next year than they were this year.
I agree. The Heat have really a whole lot of holes, but they're well coached and they have Giannis, right?
Agreed.
You have an Atlanta team that was pretty fun to watch in the playoffs last year, and their defense is going to be stout, right?
Yeah.
When you add Wiggins and Dort to that roster. You have, to your point, the Toronto Raptors who were the third best defense in the league last year, and you just added Kawhi, who that one metric I showed you was the best defender in the league last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so you got those 5 teams before you even get to Philly, who also has holes. The biggest hole being
we also haven't mentioned
at the center position.
We also haven't mentioned the Pacers, who are going to get Halliburton back. We'll have to see how that goes, and that's a question mark.
Pascal Siakam, and they lost 50 games off their win total. Right.
And if you get a healthy Trae Young season, not to say that it's great, but like the Wizards or something.
Well, healthy him and AD, I don't know what that looks like.
Well, healthy him and AD, that's a stupid team. But I'm only asking for so much.
And that doesn't even get to the point of the fact that I feel like Charlotte got better. I love the Naz Reid trade for them.
Okay, but that you lost a literal all-star in LaMelo Ball. Like, I get it.
He was a turnover machine. He had issues.
But he was also the entire reason that the
terrible fit with Minnesota. I think Naz Reid is a big upgrade for them in that position. So my point is, I can name 8 teams right now before I even get to Philly that could do something.
Now, for what it's worth,
it's crazy weird in the East this year.
Yeah, much like I was playing devil's advocate when we were talking about the Giannis thing. It's like, are they a play-in team kind of thing? I don't expect the Heat to be a play-in team purely because of Giannis. I also don't expect there to be any world necessarily unless they all get hurt, right? Because they do have 4 All-Stars on their roster. I don't expect there to be any world where the Sixers miss the playoffs. But you're right. Like, it's extremely tough. I mean, like there's a lot going on. There's a lot to monitor.
There's some teams
now,
getting a
that
lot
also
back.
Being said,
we didn't even bring up Detroit.
Crap.
Do you see my point?
That also being said,
that's my point.
We as basketball fans and as people that enjoy the sport and as people that want to be optimistic, right? Obviously, we are only viewing the good outcomes for most of these teams. There are also negative outcomes where teams slide.
I don't trust Detroit. We didn't trust them all year.
Right.
So,
but regular season wise,
they're a year older, whatever.
Sure.
And that's not even like, and I'm about to say this, and I don't expect them to do anything this year. But I love what the Bulls did this offseason.
I mean, they had a really good offseason. They're still 3 years away from being a year away.
But I like what they're doing, right?
Yeah, no, they're solid.
And so we just had that whole conversation. Look how long it took us to get to Detroit.
Yeah, that was for what it's worth. That was just pure ignorance on our part. We just weren't thinking about them. But also,
that kind of made the point in the sense that
I guess
you're
right.
Is weird. The East is weird.
There is going to be a team next year miss the playoffs, whether it's due to injury.
I mean, the Pacers are going to be a playoff team. Someone's getting bumped.
Right. Well, there's going to be.
I don't think they're going to be a high seed. I think it's going to take a while to work back in, and they did lose some pieces from that team 2 years ago, right?
They revamped though.
I know, but they also still have Pascal, which I think is a huge, keep.
And at the end of the day, I think that, whether it's due to injury or underperformance or just how deep the conference could be, there's going to be a team or two in the East that missed the playoffs that were like, there's no way they should have missed the playoffs. That really sucks. That's a bummer. That's very disappointing. But that, like you said, that's kind of just the state of it. And honestly, I think, not to open any other conversations, but I think that's just kind of where the state of the league is right now, because we look at the Western Conference and we say this exact same thing. There are just so many talented basketball teams right now.
There is still a tier here.
No, obviously.
There's Thunder, Spurs, and everyone else.
There's a group of 2 at the top, and really, if you want to say total, like 4 or 5 that are real championship level competitors right now, and then everybody else, but they're all really good basketball teams still. Like,
I think the East is going to be really fun to watch this year.
Agreed. Absolutely. I'm very excited.
It's going to be fun to watch. There's some interesting things happening in the West, but the East is where I still think the title winner next year comes out of the West. I know it didn't happen
most likely.
Year.
We said that for 10 months last year, and then it didn't happen.
No, I know.
So
I could be
down
wrong.
To 4 days before the title was lifted,
right now,
we were still saying it.
I'm picking the Knicks to make it to the finals, because until someone proves me different right now, that's got to be my answer for the East. It could be us or the Spurs in the West. I'm not going down that road right now, but I like what we did in the offseason too. So
it's an interesting thought experiment right now, by the way, on what team, if you like, whatever analogy you want to use, put a gun to my head, twist my arm, whatever. If you made me pick what team I would pick to come out of the Eastern Conference right now, it's a very interesting thought experiment, because I don't know. It's tough. It's really tough.
I'm picking the Knicks because I trust Jalen Brunson. Their coaching is good,
so tough.
and they just did it.
For sure. But
I don't trust Cleveland. We didn't even talk about Cleveland.
Holy crap! We're terrible at this.
But this is the point about the Eastern Conference.
We're terrible at this.
But this is the point about the Eastern Conference right now.
Yeah, there's going to be a couple teams miss the playoffs that are really deserving of being there.
On paper, there's not a better roster than Cleveland.
I would argue that on paper, full health, Philly is a better roster. I think.
I'm not buying that because the health is too big a deal. You can't.
No, okay, but not considering health because the Clippers also, the Cavs also have a multitude of health related problems as well, right? So, I mean,
but not your best player is hurt all the time.
I mean, pretty consistently, not the singular best player, but like everybody else basically, and even Donovan Mitchell has some kind of concerns.
That's why the East is interesting.
The East.
There are a lot of teams that had good off seasons. There are a lot of teams that, if they stay healthy, like the Wizards, are crazy interesting to figure out.
I will say right now, and part of it is just my Oklahoma whatever for Trae Young, my affinity for Trae Young. The Wizards far and away also just because, not just that, but because I think that they can be a very fun brand of basketball. I think the Wizards are my favorite Eastern Conference team this year. Like, they're going to be the team that I watch the most in the East. They're going to be the team that I root for the most in the East. I mean, the Sixers will be up there too, just because I think the narrative is interesting. But the Wizards are definitely my favorite Eastern Conference team right now. Are they going to be a playoff team? Probably not. But
probably not. But
there's just too many variables. The health is a big.
Health is the big one,
right? Like with the Sixers, they're so talented that even if they have a couple injuries throughout the year, they're going to make the playoffs. The Wizards are like, okay, we have an injury, they're done.
Next subject, and then we got to start getting moving. We talked about this way too long.
Yeah.
Sam Presti, really quick.
Okay.
He right now is once again,
the GOAT. Yeah, we know.
He's not just a GOAT. He's running circles around other GMs. So he's made 3 moves that, when you dig deeper than the surface level, are crazy. So first,
the one that I hope you're about to bring up, I think, is very valuable, and I'm glad we're going to talk about it.
First, Curtis Jones. I think we are sorry, not Curtis. Spencer.
Okay,
Jones,
I was like, who is Curtis Jones?
He's another guy that they signed, but Denver did. But I was talking about Spencer.
Spencer Jones is massive.
We knew we weren't getting him.
Do you know the full extent?
Yeah, it moves Denver to the second apron.
Well, they were already
brilliant,
in the second apron.
And we knew that they needed him. They were going to match us. Sam Presti, he knew we weren't getting him, but he signed him, knowing he's a restricted free agent, knowing Denver was going to have to match to keep him, and it moves him to the second apron.
Well, they were already in the second apron. That puts them further in it. And now, here's the thing. Peyton Watson, who is really, really good, very young, very long, very lanky, very athletic, very good defensively. He is basically the antithesis to anything that Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic are, which is why he fits so well for them and why he is so valuable for them. He wants about 4-year $100 million. They're offering him right now about 4-year $77 million, and he's a restricted free agent. And so because of that, they're in limbo. So there's several options here, right? The first of which is that they never come to an agreement, and he returns to them on the 1-year qualifying offer, which is like $6.5 or $7 million for 1 year, right? And then after that, he's an unrestricted free agent, so they would lose him next year, which is big. Or somehow, some way, they get him to come down to the number they want to, which is not going to happen.
Anyway,
or
on this let's not keep going down this road.
No, well, hold on.
I have one other.
I think it's valuable. Hold on, real quick. I'll make it fast. I think that the other option, right, is that they could come up to his number, but the only way to do that, or they could come up to his number for a sign and trade, but because they're in the second apron, the only way to trade that, because they can't get salary back for him, is that they then have to dump other salaries just to sign and trade him. So they would have to lose Christian Brown. They'd have to lose Aaron Gordon, probably a couple other guys, and then you're just decimating the roster. So kind of to your point, chestnut checkers, they're in a brutal spot right now.
We know they had to sign him. They had to match the deal we gave. It's crazy. So then there's another one, and this one's diabolical. Okay, we send Wiggins and Dort where?
To Atlanta.
Does that make them better than they were last year and they were a playoff team?
Probably.
I think it does. I think it pretty significantly does.
I mean,
Who owns?
I think at the end of the day, the Eastern Conference as a whole is much better. So I think it's possible that they get worse as a team, not because they're a worse team, but because their standing could be worse. But
We'll see. Who owns Atlanta's first round pick next year?
San Antonio.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't think there wasn't a little purposeful nature to that?
I mean, if you twisted my arm right now, I think I would still pick them to narrowly miss the playoffs. But
they were a playoff team last year, and now they're going to have elite defense.
But the East got so much better, and they already.
I don't know that the East got better. The East got more interesting.
Well, okay, so last year Bam was on it, or sorry, not Bam, Bam too. They both were, but Giannis was on a team that was not competitive. Now he's going to be on a competitive team in the Eastern Conference. Kawhi was in the West.
That has no bench,
but they're still going to be a competitive team. Kawhi was in the West. Now he's in the East.
Assuming they get Kawhi of last year, yes.
I mean, but even then,
and not 2 years ago.
Even then, they were already a better team than the Hawks, and then you add Kawhi Leonard. So, and Kawhi Leonard 2 years ago was still really good. He just had injuries.
The point is, he's
LeBron
not just randomly
in the West,
doing
now
shit.
He's in the East, right? Like the East got a lot better. So, agreed, but we'll see.
All of these rosters, by the way, have holes. So
yeah, absolutely. I just think that
it got more interesting. I think
know the other rosters with holes have much higher ceilings than the Hawks does.
Maybe we'll see
at the end of the day. But yeah, I mean, no, it's very intriguing. And Sam Presti is just the GOAT. We know that. The last thing I want to get to NBA related, and we can make it quick.
We got to be quick.
The Warriors Steph Curry relationship right now is a little bit weird because obviously we all knew they were putting everything into getting LeBron, and that didn't work. And it's come out several times the last several days, like different things, right? Joe Lacob, the owner of the Warriors, basically said, not basically, this is exactly what he said. He said that he wants to transition towards building a roster for the post Steph Curry days, which is kind of insane whenever you have a top 10 or so, 15 at worst player in the history of the sport, to then just say, yeah, he's on a roster, but we're kind of transitioning to focusing, especially when he's like a legend of the franchise, like he is your franchise. We're transitioning to the post-him days, and it's not like, oh, now he's the 60th best player in the league. No, he's still like a top 10 player in the league-ish.
When healthy.
Right? When healthy. He's really freaking good. It's interesting. Right, and then on top of that, it hasn't been like publicly stated, but the rumor is right now that Steph is kind of tired of the whole like just star chasing kind of thing, and whatever. It seems like they're just butting heads. They're not in an equal dynamic. So I think it would kind of be a little bit of a travesty to the sport almost to see Steph Curry end up in a jersey that's not the Golden State Warriors, because it's just like as iconic as it gets. But it almost seems like that's the direction we're kind of trending in. The one way I think that it is reconcilable to not be absolutely horrendous is if he ends up in the only place that I think he would ever consider leaving the Warriors for, and that would be going home, going to Charlotte. His dad's jersey's retired there. Obviously, his dad has said that we assume that he would let him play with it. It would be pretty cool.
Look, couple of things. First thing is, I agree with everything you said, but I'm going to take a little slightly different take on it. It doesn't matter what piece you add to that roster right now. They are not.
Agreed. And I think that's kind of where.
So I don't blame the organization for saying we got to start doing something now or we're screwed. We can't keep up with Oklahoma
I think there's
City
a difference between doing it and saying it publicly. I think those are two very different things.
That's fair, but then you also have to address fans that are like, why are we doing this? Well, there's obvious reasons. This team is not competitive as currently constructed, and they're nowhere close to being competitive with the top two teams. They're probably not in the top 4 or 5 teams even close. So I think it's the right decision for the organization. I don't like it either. as thorn of a side as the Warriors have been, and Thunder fans, I also respect the organization. I respect what they have accomplished, and I love Steph Curry. So, so to be clear, I don't want to see him in another jersey either.
Him in Charlotte, though, could be fun.
Yeah, it could. Well, and you talk about LaMelo not being there, and you add Naz Reid, and then you stack Steph Curry in. That could be interesting for sure. So if he cares enough about winning another title, I don't think they still do it. That's his best shot.
That's like we're making the playoffs,
right? But I don't really want to see him anywhere but the Warriors. He's kind of that lone guy in the league today that has a chance to play his entire career with the same team. Are they going to be competitive? No. And do I have a problem with the team talking about moving on past this era? No, I don't. Because
no, I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I just think that it could be handled better, especially because the entire reason
maybe it could be handled better.
I think the entire reason
obviously they've built a new arena. They've built a culture now of winning.
Yeah,
right?
I just think
never had prior.
Well, did they build a culture of winning, or did Steph Curry be such an elite basketball player? Not to say that the organization as a whole didn't put great rosters around him. Obviously, yes,
because they did.
But I guess my point is, do they have a culture of winning, or did they do well enough at managing the roster around Steph Curry, and then once he's gone, they're going to suck again?
I guess I would ask you, is there a difference?
Yes.
You were dominant for a decade. That is a culture of winning.
And in that decade, sure. I
guess the question is, here's the question, and I don't have the answer. The question is, do you trust that team post-Steph to rebuild? I think they do have a good GM. I think they do have good coaching. I don't think it's Sam Presti, right? But at the same time, they've proven they could build some rosters. Yes, I think they made mistakes in the last few years trying to capitalize on the last part of Steph Curry's career and put a competitive team around him. But as everybody is realizing now, and Philly's going to realize it this year, you can't build super teams anymore. It doesn't work.
Sure. I guess my point is, I think the difference...
I think they kept trying to do that the way they added KD strategically at the right time, right? And it just hasn't worked, and now they're screwed. And you've got to start sometime.
I would just say that I think that...
Here, hold on. I would say you would say they don't have a culture of winning if they kept grasping at straws right now instead of dealing with reality, which is weird.
I mean, I kind of agree with what you're saying, but I also think that just because you make the right statements and appear to try to move in the right direction doesn't mean that you're going somewhere. I think
maybe not.
I think that there's
a different, the right decision.
Like I think the difference between being a team that has won and being a team that has a winning culture is the difference right now between the Miami Heat, who are always competitive. I get they have 1 year up and down, whatever, but the Miami Heat, who are always competitive, always in the market to get a player, whatever, and the New York Knicks, right? The New York Knicks did just win it, and yes, they did have a really good roster around Brunson. It wasn't just Brunson, right? And they did it. But 5 years from now, if Brunson's not on that roster, do I trust them to rebuild it? No, I don't.
No, but I don't think the Knicks, who hadn't won it in 50 years, and a team like the Warriors that won it 4 times in a decade.
Yeah, but 4 times in a decade, and before that, they only ever had one. You know what I mean? So it's not like...
I get that.
I guess my point being, no, obviously it's not apples to apples. I'm just saying that, like, are we going to find out over the next decade, and we will find out one way or the other, but over the next decade, are we going to find out, do the Warriors have a winning culture, or did they just do a really, really good job at managing Steph Curry's career? Either way, you built a dynasty, so congrats.
Either could be true.
I just think that if there's a chance that it's the second one, and that you just built perfectly around Steph for most of his career, obviously not now at this point, but I think if that's the case, then you got to do everything you can to get him another one. And it's not going to happen, obviously. But
the other thing for Charlotte, if they were to be able to pull this off, you can't give up the farm for it.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You can't give up the farm for a 38-year-old Curry.
No, but it'd be fun.
It'd be fun.
Not for the farm, obviously. No, I agree. But yeah, no, if you bring out him, Brandon
Now,
Miller,
would Charlotte do that?
Knipple,
Maybe, because they're
Nas
very
Reed.
poorly run traditionally. So.
Yeah, no, and they probably would. But it's also
Would it
Steph
put
Curry.
butts in seats? 100%.
Yeah. Would it be the highest selling jersey in the league? Probably.
Maybe.
Most
Maybe in
likely.
Charlotte. I don't know about the whole league.
I think it would be. I think
Maybe.
that Steph's name holds a lot. Just like, I mean, well, like right now, and I get it's not a jersey, but like they're of the top 5 players for the most bet on to win the MVP next year, 4 of them play for the Philadelphia 76ers. Why? Because of LeBron James, who is the most bet player to win MVP next season.
That's ridiculous.
Obviously, that's ridiculous. It's not going to happen. But my point is, that's what
I can name 5
Steph
players.
and LeBron, in terms of a cultural level, in the NBA, are the NBA.
Look, I'm just going to say this because it's true. That's Vegas putting that out there because they know the LeBron guys are going to go out there and bet on it. There's no chance it pays out. And then Vegas just makes a shit ton of money on the bet.
Obviously. But I guess my point is it's not just like Vegas promoting. It's people doing it out of their own volition.
It's idiots betting on something that's not going to happen and making Vegas money.
Is it idiotic when...
Yes.
Well, hold on. I mean, so for what it's worth, right? You say all the time, you're like, why would somebody spend $100 to win 10? Right? Like, if you're going to place a bet that's going to pay you money. You know what I mean?
I know, but don't place a bet that has 0% chance and 0% chance that LeBron's the MVP next year. 0.
I hope LeBron wins MVP next year.
It's 0% chance.
Yes, it's a 0% chance. I'm aware.
I'll give you $1,000 if he wins MVP.
Deal.
He will not win MVP.
And you know what?
He may not even play enough games to qualify.
And that's perfectly reasonable. Okay, if he plays enough games to qualify, will he be an All-NBA player next year?
I doubt it.
I mean, because that is literally a bet that is without fail never true. Right? Like, he has never qualified and not made it.
He's never been 41 years old to start the season.
That is true.
He's never been the second
that
or
is a
third
bet that I would like willingly
roster.
make with you. That is a bet I would willingly
He's never been
make.
the third or best player on the roster.
I'm still not convinced that he is, especially over the whole course of the season whenever you consider injuries and stuff. But anyways, that is a bet I would willingly take, is that if he plays enough games.
Because the one thing's for sure, in order to be the MVP, you have to be the best player on your roster.
Yes. Yes.
And he's
trying to think if that were ever true.
No way. You've had finals MVPs that weren't the best player on the roster.
Naturally.
Right? You've never had the MVP of the league that wasn't the best player on the roster.
Yeah, right.
That's not a thing.
Yeah. But I don't think... Did Kareem win any more MVPs after Magic got there? I don't think so. But if he did, there's an argument there.
I don't think so either. Oh, but
I think all of his
still an argument who was the better player.
I don't think so. I think that once Magic got there, it was pretty consensus Magic was the best player on the team.
I think that's true, but I also don't think he won an MVP after Magic got there.
I don't think he did. Maybe he won one in like 81 or 82.
Okay, we've gone on 42 minutes about the NBA. It's time to move on.
All right, so let's get into our next NFL division preview.
And hopefully we don't talk about the NBA again until it starts. Hopefully this is the last big move, and we don't.
I think that this should relatively wrap us up for quite a while.
I mean, the only thing is that there's a blockbuster trade for Steph. I can't imagine anything else.
That, or if something ends up happening to where, because technically speaking, Jalen Duren is still a free agent, restricted free agent for the Pistons, and Peyton Watson as well for the Nuggets. If something catastrophically weird happens for either of those teams where they end up not retaining that guy, that's something to talk about. But other than that, yeah, there's not going to be anything crazy. All right, so we've got 5 divisions left, 3 down. Ah, dang it. I did not share my screen. Tough. This is brutal. Let's go ahead and talk, guys, because I did not share my screen, so this sucks. It's not in there. But let's go ahead and talk about the AFC East.
Okay. I mean, honestly, I think this isn't a long conversation.
It
right?
is an unfortunate conversation.
There's really only one team that's even questionable here, and there's probably only one team that we disagree on. So I have the Bills winning the division.
I think we might disagree a little bit more than you would think on certain
So I have the
things.
Bills winning the division.
Okay.
At 11-6.
I've got them
They're
at
the
12
only
and 5,
playoff
but
team in this division for me.
yeah, hard disagree.
I've got the Jets at 2-15. I got the Dolphins at 3-14.
Yeah, okay, so we definitely disagree on some things.
And I have the Patriots at 6-11, 4-2 in the division.
You're saying they're going to be 6-11 and win 4 games, and they're going to win 2. They're going to go 2-9 outside of the division.
Yes.
2. I'm not saying you have to think they're a great team. I'm not saying you have to think they're a playoff team. I'm not saying you have to think that obviously their schedule isn't going to hurt them. But they literally improved as a roster this offseason. The only question marks right now are Drake May against the schedule, I guess, although his traits and his skills are phenomenal. And then kind of
I saw him against good teams in the playoffs, and he was atrocious.
Sure. Kind of the cultural coaching thing, but they're also a very winning organization. And if there was going to be a real problem, I think they would have taken care of it. He's still there. I think it'll be fine. And Drake May, I think, so here's the thing right now. I think fundamentally the biggest difference right now between you and I is that the question mark right now is whether or not Drake May is replicatable. You don't believe it is. I do. That's the big difference. But also,
I'm not saying it's not long
better.
term. I don't think he's better this year, and I don't think
better.
Their coach is in a weird spot.
But
and
again,
Drake May,
they would have taken care of that if they needed to.
Terrible against good teams, and they went from the easiest schedule in the league last year, where they dominated, to the hardest.
I don't think they have the hardest.
Like, they play Seattle. They play the Jags. They play Buffalo twice. They play the Bears. They play Green Bay. They play the Lions, the Chargers, the Vikings, Kansas City. They play Denver. Their schedule is tough.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you right now, I have them as the 7th seed in the AFC. I have them
and I've seen them play Denver.
I have them as my last team in the playoffs. Oh, by the way, they did win that game in Denver.
After Nick broke his ankle. It was how much did the offense score?
Neither here nor there. They both have great defenses, and they won that game.
I understand that.
Anyways,
they did not win it because of their quarterback, which is the problem.
Didn't say they did, but I don't think they would have to win it because of their quarterback this time. I've got them as the 7th seed in the conference. I also have them going 4-2 in division. Contrary to you, though, I have them going 8-3 outside of division. I have them going 12-5 overall, which is like I said, the 7th seed in the AFC because the AFC is stupid stacked. I do have them losing to Seattle. The 5 games I have them losing: Seattle week 1, Buffalo week 4 in Buffalo. I've got them losing to the Chargers in week 12 in LA, and I've got them losing week 15 Monday Night Football in Kansas City. Right. Oh, actually, I have them getting swept by the Bills. I've got them losing the Bills game. So coming off of their bye, they're actually going to lose 2 straight. I've got them losing in LA against the Chargers and at home against the Bills. They get swept by the Bills. And then I have them losing in Kansas City.
I have them beating.
Here's the thing. I think that plus or minus they could go a couple of different games. I do have them winning a road game in Jacksonville. I think that, plain and simple, I think that the Patriots are a better team, but that is a game that could go either way. I do have them winning a road game on Thursday Night Football in Chicago. Again, that gets tougher because I think the Bears are a really good team, but I think that the Patriots are probably a slightly better team. I've got them winning a home game against the Packers. I've got them winning a road game, quote unquote, against the Lions, but it's in Germany. And then I've got them beating the Vikings at home and then the Broncos at home. Like, I don't feel like anything I'm saying here is insane.
I have them winning against the Steelers in week 2. I have them beating the Raiders in week 5. I have them beating the Jets in week 6. I have them beating the Dolphins in week 8. I have them beating the Jets in week 15, and I have them beating the Dolphins in week 18.
I mean, So here's the thing. I just think that
Could one of those other games go a little different? Sure. I don't think they get to 10 wins.
I just fundamentally disagree. Now, for what it's worth, right? Like I said, I do have them winning road games in Jacksonville, Chicago, and Detroit, right? So, and picking up a tough home win late against the Broncos. So, could a couple of them go differently, and maybe they only get to 10 wins, or maybe even 9, which would be a disappointing season for them. And at 9 or 10 wins in the AFC, you're most likely not making the playoffs. Is that possible? Yes. Do I see it necessarily? Is that like that's that what I'm picking? No, but is that possible? Yes. Saying they're going to be 3, 4, 5 games under 500, I think is absurd. They have a franchise quarterback. They have an elite coach.
They have a franchise quarterback that has been good against bad teams.
He was really, really good against good teams last year in the regular season. He was. I mean, I get
they didn't
playoffs,
play
whatever.
any.
That's not true. That's plain and simple, just not true. He played a very easy schedule overall, but to say he played 0 good teams is not true. He played the Bills twice. He played, I'm not remembering off the top of my head, but he played some good teams, right? And if you look at like stats against common opponents last year, between him and Matthew Stafford, he destroyed Matthew Stafford in games against common opponents. And yet nobody would talk about Matthew Stafford's schedule. And nor should they, because it wasn't like easy. Here's the thing with the Patriots in terms of last season. I think that yes, they had a very poor schedule. I think that yes, they also dominated the majority of it. I think that no, they're not going to go 14-3 again, right? I'm not picking that. I think they're going to go 12-5, and it's going to look a lot different than the 14-3 did last year. I could also see them going 10-7, which is a far fall from 14-3, and it is a bit underwhelming and disappointing from where I have them at 12-5. Are they going to go from 14 wins to 6? No.
So I think this is another important thing to bring up again, which is I looked at each week on an island. So let me ask you a question, right? I didn't look at it as a whole. When I went through this, I went each week on an island.
I did for the most part as well. Yeah.
Is it crazy to think they lose to Seattle?
No, I picked them to lose to Seattle.
Is it crazy to think that they could lose to the Jags?
Could lose or do lose is a different conversation. Is it crazy?
I'm asking, is it crazy to think they could lose to the Jags?
Okay, it's never crazy to think
Answer
that
the question.
Okay, stop. Okay. I am answering.
Is there a likelihood that the Jags could win that game?
Likelihood, I would say no. I'm going to pick the Patriots.
You can pick them, but the Jags were also a great team last season.
Sure.
And they don't have all the weird shit swirling around that team. And Trevor was almost MVP level last year.
I mean, Drake May was MVP level last year.
In the regular season with an easy schedule, yes. He was not in the postseason.
Trevor Lawrence didn't win a playoff game last year.
My point is, it's crazy to say that at home, and by the way, September in Jacksonville, that's not a fun place to play in September.
I mean, September in New England would still be 90. It's not like it's not like
they
it's
don't
October.
Have the same humidity that Jacksonville does.
I'm sure it's relatively humid in Boston.
The point I'm making is it's not crazy to say that they could lose that game.
Yeah, it's not crazy to say they could lose any game.
That's not what I'm asking you, and you know it.
But okay, but if you're asking me which one I'm picking,
Jacksonville won that game. I'm not asking you.
But I wouldn't be shocked if they won every single game on their schedule. But I'm not picking them to go 17-0.
You wouldn't be shocked if they went 17-0.
No, that's what I just said. Obviously, they're not going 17-0. I would be shocked if they went 17-0. But if you looked at their schedule and said, "Is there any game on there you would be shocked that they won?" No, there is not, because they're a good football team.
Or lost is my point. They could lose to Jacksonville easily. They could lose to the Bills twice easily. They could lose to Chicago easily. They could lose to Green Bay easily.
Disagree.
They could lose to the Detroit Lions.
Green Bay is a different conversation right now.
Detroit easily. Chargers easily.
Detroit's overrated.
That's a crazy thing to say.
It's not crazy. They were last place in their division last year. 9 was in their division, and they were last. And they got worse.
In a crazy good division.
And they got worse.
They had shit tons of injuries.
But that's my point. They got worse.
Vikings, they could lose. Chiefs, they could lose. Broncos, they could lose. I don't know why this is crazy.
Yeah. And if I went down the line and looked at any of those games, they could win them. Any of them. Or all of them. listen. They're not going to be as good of a team as they were last year. They're not. You're right. Most likely. But I think it's also possible, much like I was talking with the Atlanta Hawks, right, where their record is worse and they are still a better football team, right? Like, I think that is a reasonable statement. Another year of Drake May, another year of Vrabel, another year of all this team being together. They have a real number one now in A.J. Brown that's going to be really good. Like,
yeah, that's not looking good in practice right now. There's some drama around that too.
I mean, they'll be fine. I think that the thing is, right now, based on their schedule and based on how things play out, based on how tough it is, no matter what your schedule looks like, to go 14-3, are they going to have a worse record than they did last year? Yes. Are they most likely going to be a lower seed than they were last year? Yes. Could they miss the playoffs even, maybe? Yes. Are they going to be a better football team? Yes. Right? Like, in my AFC, the way that I have everything... Hold on, stop. The way that I have everything predicted right now, an 11-6 football team misses the playoffs. In fact, I think I even, based on... let me look. Based on... No. Okay, my best team out is 11-6. I was going to say based on tiebreakers, maybe I have a 12-5 team missing. I don't.
Look,
it's 11-6. My
important.
point being, the difference between 14-3 and 11-6 is not much. But if they go at 11-6 based on my AFC, they miss the playoffs. They could still, in that world, technically speaking, miss the playoffs and be a better football team than they were last year. All I'm telling you is they got better. They will be better. The results, we'll see. I don't know. But I'm picking them to go about 12-5. That is, in terms of output and result reduction from last year. But they'll be a better football team.
I agree with you in the sense that you can have a lesser record than the year before and be a better football team. I have no evidence that they're a better football team now than they were last year.
I mean,
and their schedule is tougher.
I just disagree.
I don't know what A.J. Brown means to this team. I don't.
I think it means a lot.
He's a drama queen. We'll see. He's already causing drama.
He's also, you can say he's a drama queen and true, right? But even in that same light, in that same personality, won a Super Bowl, right? And by no means am I calling this team the Philadelphia Eagles, because that defense was stupid and whatever. The running game was great. But I think this team is better coached. I think this team is better quarterbacked. My point being, that drama doesn't necessarily lead to negative results all the time. Especially because I don't know how much drama there really will be. There's no one really to compete with them. I mean, like, they signed Romeo Dobbs. Okay.
I'm not saying he's not their number one option. I just don't trust him.
I think they're going to be really good, honestly. I mean, I think that offense is coming together quite nicely. I think last year they were really good, partially because of the schedule, but also partially just out of crazy improvement nobody saw. But I looked at that roster last year, even after all the improvement had taken place, and even after they got to the point that they did, I was like, this offensive roster is not very good. But I look at it now and I think like it's actually coming together quite nicely. Like I think it's a really good team. So we can move. I want to talk about the team that obviously us and I would assume most people have picking to win this division. You have them going 11-6. I have them going 12-5. Either way, I would assume that puts them at the 3 seed in the AFC for you.
4 seed.
Oh, okay. So they're the 4. For me, they're the 3, but tomato.
I mean, I have to look to be sure, but I'm just looking at records, I would assume.
Well, if you look at their record right next to it, it says a number.
Yeah, 4 seed.
Okay. So I've got them at the 3 seed for me. They're 12-5. You have them at 11-6. I would assume that means relatively comparable. Their schedule, for what it's worth, also not easy. Like, their schedule also tough, but they're a great football team. They've got Josh Allen. They've got a guy that's going to compete for MVP upon MVP upon MVP, and we'll see what that looks like. They got a new coach for the first time in Josh Allen's career, but it was a guy that was already in the building. It's not like we're starting over.
Yeah, I think the offense gets better because I like the DJ Moore signing.
Yeah, that's big.
I don't know what to think about the defense. I think McDermott was a big part of that, and the defense already wasn't great. So,
but I think that's why I'm not worried about it, because That's why I'm not worried about it. It's because McDermott was the reason that defense got so good at a certain point in Josh Allen's career in the last couple of years. It wasn't good, even with him being there. And so now you lose him, and like, so what is kind of my point. Like, that's why I'm not worried about it. If they had been like the 10th best defense in the NFL last year, or 13th best defense in the NFL last year, and lost McDermott because they fired him just due to consistent underwhelming in the playoffs, which was the biggest reason still. But if they were the 10th best defense in the NFL and that happened, I would be worried. To be like, ooh, if they regress to the 20th best defense, like, what does that mean? But they weren't the 10th best defense in the NFL last year,
Look,
or the year before that.
They can be a bad defense this year and be a playoff team because they're still going to win this division.
Again, I think the margin there is smaller than you do, obviously, but based on what you're saying, there's zero chance it's ever possible for them to lose the division. At this point, you're basically arguing Josh Allen could get hurt and they'd win the division because the other teams are so bad.
No, I don't think that's true.
I mean, so what, you would think that the Patriots at that point would pick up an extra win because Josh Allen gets hurt, and so they beat the Bills the second time, and so then they go 7-10 and win the division?
Maybe.
That's insane.
I mean, depends on how early you're talking about Josh Allen getting hurt. That matters. But I mean, Josh Allen.
But the first time they play each other is week 4. So
Josh Allen, like most quarterback, is the most valuable person on that team, and he is good for 5 or 6 wins on his own a year.
Agreed.
He has been. And so if he goes down, obviously that changes everything.
But I guess my point is right now, Josh Allen's injury in terms of the Patriots record at max affects 2 games, but considering one is week 4, really probably only affects 1 game. So we're saying that even if Josh Allen gets hurt, you're still only putting the Patriots as a 7-win team. So then it would just matter on how many games the Bills win. And if the Bills, depending on what happens, can squeak out 8 wins because Josh Allen gets hurt halfway through.
Who's their backup? Is it Trubisky still?
No, he went to Tennessee. Who's the Bills' backup? That's a good question. I don't remember. It's somebody semi-noteworthy.
Hopefully for the sport, it's no one but Josh Allen.
And it won't be, but I'm just saying, like, basically what you're saying is that theoretically, depending on what happens, they could just lose Josh Allen and still be the best team in the division.
It depends on when.
No, their backup is Kyle Allen, so yeah, they would be cooked for sure.
If it's week 2, then they may not win another game.
Yeah.
I mean, they would have a chance of beating us and the Jets.
That's true. I do want to talk about the Jets. I also think it's absurd to not have the Miami Dolphins as the last place in this division. I don't have the Jets as a good team, by the way. Right. But to just kind of shed light on how insanely disrespectful I think you're being to the New England Patriots at 6-11. That is the record I have handed out to the New York Jets this season, which is still a bad record for what it's worth, everybody. Like, let's consider that. That is a bad record. That is not a good
6 wins on the Jets schedule.
I did. I think that the Jets are not a horrendous football team. I think they're a bad football team,
and I don't think they're well coached.
They're a bad football team.
And they're badly coached.
Yet to be determined on the coaching side of things. I think it's great.
Pretty bad last season.
I mean, it's always bad. Their roster's horrendous. But it's not horrendous this year. That's kind of my point. They're going to get dragged down because they're the Jets. If here's what I'm telling you right now. If the Jets weren't the Jets, if this Jets roster was, say, I don't know. Throw out a random team there. The Arizona Cardinals. If this entire Jets roster was the Arizona Cardinals, that's a bad example because that division's stacked. But just theoretically, I would say this is probably an 8 or 9 win team. I am dragging them down a little bit because they are the New York Jets. I think this roster is actually decent. Like I think that they lose credit because they're the Jets and they'll find a way to screw it up. But I think that Breece Hall, good. You got him his extension. Garrett Wilson, good. You added 2 receivers in the draft, which I really like. You added Kenyon Sadiq at tight end. Your offensive line has gotten shored up a little bit more as well. And then on defense, you added several pieces. Like I think this is actually a decent team.
And who's
hold on.
quarterback?
Right, and I think that Geno Smith might be the most overhated quarterback in the NFL because the situation could not have genuinely been any worse last season that he was in. And while no, he's still in the Jets situation, right? So it's not like a great situation. It is miles better than it was last year, and that is a fact. I don't expect him to be great for what it's worth, but I don't expect him to be second in the league in turnovers either.
Geno, the turnover machine.
Right. I don't. He could still be, right? But I also think that the difference is, right, is that even if he is up there in turnovers, which he'll be up there, but even if he is number 2 or even leads the league in turnovers, I think his positive production will be much higher than it was last year. The situation's much better. So I do think that this is a 5 or 6 win team, and they'll be semi-entertaining to watch-ish. There's a lot of intrigue in terms of young players on their roster. But I think that most importantly, even that is that I actually believe that this roster is probably an 8 or 9 win team. Just they're branded with the Jets logo, and so I think that they get docked some points there. But to answer your question,
they're basically playing the same schedule as the Patriots.
But to answer your question, okay, I have them beating the Titans. Is that a stretch?
It's not a stretch. I have the Titans winning that game, but it's not a stretch.
Okay.
That's more 50-50. Obviously, I'm not high on the Titans either.
I have them beating the Browns.
I have them beating the Browns.
Okay. I have them beating the Dolphins in New York.
I don't know. We're sweeping them. That's 2 of our 3 wins.
That's great. We're a 3-win football team and we beat the Jets twice. That's
right. I have them beating Cleveland and I have them beating the Cardinals.
Okay, so I have them beating the Titans. I have them beating the Browns. I have them beating us, right? And then coming off of a bye, weird crap happens. It's the league. Weird crap happens. They could lose this game.
They're not beating Denver. Stop it.
Weird stuff happens. Teams win every single week that aren't supposed to win. Every single week. Every single week. You don't know.
I get it.
Okay, but what I'm telling you is
Sean Payton.
Okay, what I'm telling you right now is even then they lose that game, they still won 5 games. I said 5, 6 games, right? But I picked them to win that game. They are coming off of a bye.
I'm being disrespectful to the Patriots, and you have the Jets beating the Broncos.
I have them beating the Cardinals, right? And then in week 17, I have them beating the Vikings in New York. None of those games are absurd. Obviously, I think the biggest absurdity would be them beating the Broncos, but that is still a home game coming up and bye.
Close absurdity is them beating the Vikings, who have an elite roster.
I mean, they have
they're very well coached.
They have a pretty good roster. I think that their roster is overstated.
They have an elite defense. They have an elite offensive talent.
Well, they have a team that could be potentially elite defensively. They were not an elite defense last year. They were 2 years ago. They were not an elite defense last year.
Because they couldn't move the football on offense. It wasn't the defense.
Sure, I'm not saying that.
3 and out. 3 and out.
Sure,
where's on the defense?
I guess my point is that it's potential based in what we're saying about them. And the other part of it too, right, is Kyler is a very injury-prone quarterback, and if he gets hurt again, then you're just going right back to 9 and what has changed. And even if he plays,
another year in the program is what you're hoping, but
maybe. But what if not? What if he's just that bad?
Here's what you can't argue with.
Hold on.
The Vikings roster is far superior to the Jets roster.
I think it's closer than you think. I think it's closer you give them credit for.
It's not.
It is.
They have Justin Jefferson and Addison.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference is coaching, obviously. That's a massive deal.
That's not even close.
Right. Obviously the receiving core in itself, sure. I think everything after that gets kind of bogged down.
The defense in Minnesota is far superior.
Theoretically.
The offensive line in Minnesota is superior.
That is relatively close. I think the Jets' best overall unit on their entire team is probably their offensive line. They're actually pretty decent. I think that's what my point. I think it kind of is. I think they're a decent-ish roster. So I think that they could win these games, right? I think if they weren't the Jets, I could see them picking up 2 wins against the Dolphins, right? If they weren't the Jets, I have them losing in week 8 at home to the Raiders. I could pick them in that game. And if they weren't the Jets, who knows? Maybe they pick up one more. I don't know. And at that point, I'm calling them an 8 or 9 win football team. And that's what I'm saying. If they weren't the Jets, I think they could win 8 or 9 games. But they're the Jets. They'll get docked. All that to say, I think that they had a relatively solid offseason. I think that they're just in a weird spot because obviously they're not good enough right now to actually compete. Even if you win 7 or 8 games, that's not that's a good season by Jets standards, but that's not a good team. And that's also kind of their ceiling right now. And I think it's weird because I liked your draft picks. I liked the Kenyon Sadiq, the Omar Cooper. I like these draft picks. I think that you're doing a good job. Garrett Wilson is still pretty young. Breece Hall, even though he's on his second contract now for a running back, which gets kind of scary in the NFL, he's still pretty young-ish. But then you bring in Geno Smith, which is weird. In my mind, they made good moves this offseason. Set yourself up to go win 3 games next year and get a top 3 pick and get a quarterback in what seems to be a really good quarterback class. In my mind, they might win just enough games to not get one of those guys because in typical Jets fashion, you're doing something that is not good for your future and you're poorly managed. I think they could have done a good enough job this offseason to win just enough games to miss that spot. And so, I mean, depending on how many guys we view as being that good, are there going to be 4 in the top 12 picks? Possibly. And if so, maybe they'll get one, right? But right now, I've got
They will get one based on the way I'm picking it.
So. Sure, but I also think that that's just a bit, at least slightly unfair. Currently, I would have the Jets as the 8th overall pick. So I think it kind of just depends, right? Because ahead of them, the Cardinals would draft one. The Raiders would not. The Dolphins would draft one, possibly. If we win 3 games, I think it's definitely possible to consider that. I mean, the Malik Willis question is interesting, but possibly. The Browns would possibly draft one. The Commanders most likely wouldn't unless you have another extremely injury-plagued Jaden Daniels season, and then who knows, conversations start. The Giants probably wouldn't, but again, same thing. It'd be much easier to move on from Jackson Dart than it would Jaden Daniels because he hasn't had that peak yet. If he had a bunch of injuries, maybe. The Titans, probably not. They spent a number 1 overall pick on one, but maybe, right? So I guess my point is there's at least 3 teams ahead of them that definitely would take one. And you could convince yourself maybe one more. So my point is they could do just enough to miss out on any actually really good quarterback next year. And that's just typical Jets fashion to be in just the wrong spot, which I personally love as a Dolphins fan. I think it's hilarious.
They won't be. Again, now, they'll still probably miss on quarterback. It doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not saying that if they draft one that it'll work out, right? Sam Darnold's a really good NFL player. He sucked for the Jets because it's the Jets. If they draft Quinn Ewers, or not Quinn Ewers, if they draft Arch Manning,
which is, by the way, my whole point here.
Yeah, no, for sure.
A lot of what I'm picking here has mostly to do with the fact that it's the Jets, and this is what the Jets do.
Well, the Jets don't typically do the Jets by winning 2 games. I mean, even that's low for them.
They do.
Not typically speaking.
The Dolphins don't. The Jets do.
No, the Jets are routinely near the bottom of the league, but they don't typically win 2 games. That's an absurdly low number.
Okay, I'm sorry, 4 or 5.
Well, that's a big difference.
But they have won 2 games.
Yeah, no, for sure. So
it's not a big difference. It still makes you terrible.
No, obviously, but I guess my point...
I looked at each week on its own. I didn't look at it as a whole.
No, I am aware of that, but what I'm telling you...
See, we keep arguing the nuances of this, when in all actuality, we actually only have one disagreement in this division. Because it doesn't matter what your record is if you're not a playoff team. And so the Dolphins and the Jets are not playoff teams. We agree on that. The only thing we disagree on in this division is that you have the Patriots going to playoffs and I don't.
Well,
the
I think
record is kind of insignificant.
Well, no, I think it's pretty significant when you talk the long-term future of these teams, right? Like I said, in your case, you have the Jets as like the number 1 or number 2 pick. In my case, they're at 8 or 9 and probably miss on any.
But you're
really good
talking
quarterback
long term.
prospect.
We're talking about this season.
Well, I think it's kind of all encompassing when you're talking about the moves they made this offseason affecting their future.
The only thing we actually disagree on is whether the Patriots are going to make the playoffs or not.
Yeah, and I think they
in
will.
This division. That's really the only thing we actually disagree on. We disagree on how many wins these teams are going to get. But ultimately, the only thing in this, we both agree that the Jets and Dolphins aren't playoff teams.
Yeah, obviously. I just think that
we both agree that the Bills are winning the division.
I think we just fundamentally.
But the question is, are the Patriots a wild card team or not?
I fundamentally think that I think we fundamentally disagree with the state of the Jets because I don't think they're in a terrible, horrendous spot right now.
It doesn't even matter if they are. That's what the Jets do.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. Now, also for what it's worth, I am not 100% convinced that the Patriots are a wild card team. I had them with the same record. It's just tiebreaker went to the Bills because the Bills swept them and went 6-0 in division. But they were both.
I have them 6-0 in the division.
Right, but they were to me they were both. In my case, they were both 12-5 football teams, which really all that means is the Patriots got to win the one in New England, and then they win the division. So, the Patriots are a really good football team. I believe that.
We'll see.
So, here's what I will say. I feel extremely confident, even if we're both wrong, which is most likely. I feel extremely confident they will be much closer to my outcome than yours.
We'll see.
Like a 10-win team is still much closer to 12 than 6. So.
I mean, yeah, that's math.
Twice as close, actually. Math. Yeah.
Whatever.
Right.
Cool. All right.
The Patriots are weird, but we'll see.
Yep, we will see. Follow us on the socials. Don't forget, 100th follower on YouTube gets a free Oklahoma City Comets hat.
Yeah. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow all the socials at Gin Beef Pod. Come interact with us. Send us to your friends, your family. Shout us out. Say we're the greatest podcast you've ever listened to. You gained so much ball knowledge and didn't lose any brain cells by listening to us name 12 Eastern Conference teams and forgetting about the Cleveland Cavaliers. And arguing for 30 minutes about whether or not the Jets are a 3-win team or a 6-win team.
That was my point I was getting at the end. We actually don't disagree here.
Matter. Yeah.
Real quick, special the next 2 weeks. We will be in the same locale.
Yeah, we gotta work out the kinks of that. I think that'll be interesting because I
have an idea. We can talk about it.
The quality was relatively poor of the last one. It was fun. Now, whether that means we still do it in 2 separate rooms, the same setup, you bring your stuff, or we figure out something else.
I actually have an idea.
I don't know.
We can talk about it offline.
Yeah, but that'll be fun. Like you said, special setups, and we will still be doing previews. And then we'll probably get one more relatively soon after that, about a month later, in the same in person, and that would be our week 1 recap, which would be extremely fun because week 1 we are going to see the Dolphins in Vegas, and so that Tuesday night when we normally record, I will be with you in New Mexico, and so
I'm flying back that day.
Yeah, you fly back that day, and we'll drive back, and then we'll be there. And so we'll do in person at your place.
We can even do a couple of shorts from Allegiant.
Oh, yeah. And I've got the mobile mics that I can plug into my phone. That'll be fun.
There you go. All right.
So, yeah. All right. A lot of interesting stuff coming up. Entertaining stuff, hopefully. So, again, like I said, like, comment, subscribe. We out. Peace.
Jim Beef.